I've seen Glenn Powell in other movies like Top Gun. I actually met him and took a picture with him at the red carpet for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. But I never really looked at him like, oh my God, like he's so fine or whatever. But after this movie, I was like, okay, I get it now. The twisters aren't the only thing that's causing wetness. And welcome to my Safe Gayven, everybody. Thank you guys so much for clicking on another video and joining me here on the Black Gay Comic Geek channel. But if this is your first time checking out my channel, thank you so much. Let me introduce myself. My name is Michael. I call myself the Black Gay Comic Geek. And I always say the things that I love to talk about on my channel has blood, sex, gore, and magic, or any variation of the four. So generally, I like to talk about fantasy, sci-fi, horror movies, but I like to talk about action movies. That has blood, sex, gore, and magic sometimes. Well, maybe not so much the magic, but I also like to talk about black representation and queer representation, or about these movies and shows through a black queer lens. So if that's something that you are interested, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, help me continue to grow this channel. I am this close to hitting 9,000 subscribers. I'm at like 8,800 or something along those lines. Help me get to 10,000, 11,000, 12,000, etc. You can help me do that by not only hitting the subscribe button, but you hear YouTubers say this all the time, by hitting that like button. Please, 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 please smash that like button. It helps with the YouTube algorithm, getting this video out there, getting my channel in general out there. Some more eyes can go to my channel, can subscribe, and I can continue to grow the channel and become a full-time creator so I can quit my full-time job, because this is what I want to do. But with that, guys, we are here to talk about Twisters. I think it's a sequel to the original Twister movie starring Bill Paxton. I don't know. I've never seen the original Twister movie, and I didn't think you needed to, because I'm like, it's a disaster movie. All you need to know is a tornado's coming, or rather 2 tornadoes, because it's Twisters or multiple tornadoes. We need Captain Planet. That's really all you need to know going into this movie. So let's talk about the synopsis for Twisters. Haunted by a devastating encounter with a tornado, Kate Cooper gets lured back to the open plains by her friend Javi to test a groundbreaking new tracking system. She soon crosses paths with Tyler Owens, a charming but reckless social media superstar who thrives on posting his storm-chasing adventures. As storm season intensifies, Kate, Tyler, and their competing teams find themselves in a fight for their lives as multiple systems converge over central Oklahoma. And something I was thinking about while thinking about this movie, because it takes place in Oklahoma, and how white this movie is. And that's not to say there aren't black and brown people in the movie. Like I mentioned, Anthony Ramos being one of the main characters, a brown character, and there are black people in the movie. But I was just like, wow, Oklahoma is super white. But it shouldn't be that way, because there were once upon a time a lot of black people in Oklahoma, and there would still be if it wasn't for the destruction of the Black Wall Street in 1913. But that's not this movie's fault. That's not this movie's fault. But that's just something I was thinking about. Again, reviewing movies from a black gay perspective. So there you go. But getting into this movie, I really liked this movie. I was actually surprised by how much I like this movie. As a matter of fact, I like this movie so much, I want to see it again, but I want to see it again in 4DX, because I feel like seeing it in 4DX is going to be literally a roller coaster ride and an adventure, and so much more immersive. Because this movie, even though I didn't watch it in 4DX, the disaster aspect of it was so fun. And then it was also, I don't know, it felt very different than a lot of other disaster movies, because a lot of times when you think a lot about disaster movies and the circumstances regarding disaster movies, they're almost so fantastical that you're kind of like, none of this can ever happen. But this movie, it was more realistic in the disaster element of it. And then not only just that, but the thing about this movie that was very different than a lot of other disaster movies that I've seen, and again, I can't compare it to the original Twisters because I didn't see the original Twisters, but I'm thinking about things like The Day Before Tomorrow and a lot of other disaster movies that I see, is that this movie really focused on the human element of what happens when a twister or multiple twisters devastate an entire town, and the loss and the, the property damage and the fact that people have to basically rebuild their entire lives and community just due to something that we can't control, natural weather phenomenon that's only getting worse with climate change. And that's something that I appreciated, that we got to see more of that human element with this story and with these giant circumstances of Mother Nature. Basically, Mother Nature is not one to mess with. And also with that, like talking about the fact that we got to spend so much time, or not so much time, but we got to see and focus more on the human element of this movie. I would say like this movie has a lot of heart at its core. And the main person behind that heart is the lead of Katie, who's, what's her name? Played by Daisy Edgar Jones. I've never seen her in anything before. I don't know who she is, but I really like her. I've become a fan of her just based on this movie. Like, she was great. Like, her acting, the emotion behind it, like having her be the leading character and the leading woman of the movie, #1 on the call sheet. I was invested in her character and her story and rooting for her the entire time. Actually, I loved her character, like, and we got to know so much and dive so much about her in her character. Like, I feel like the writing in this movie was very smart. And the thing about this movie, because a lot of times when you focus on like disaster movies, the trap is, yeah, you get to have the characters going through disasters, but really the main element of the story is the disaster in and of itself. But this movie was character driven first, and then characters in the circumstances of the disaster. And that's something that I really appreciated and really enjoyed and made me even more invested in this movie. And not only just that, but like the disasters, like the tornado element of it was frightening. I was rooting and scared for a lot of these characters, even though some of the characters I knew, you know, weren't gonna die at the end of the movie. Spoilers, I guess, but I was still, because, you know, it's like most movies, you know, characters aren't gonna die at the end, but at the same time, I was still afraid for them in those circumstances. I was still wondering, are they gonna make it out? And then just the devastation. And honestly, this movie, not that I didn't know before, but because they focus so much on the human element, which I appreciate, this movie really made me realize just the devastation of a tornado and how much loss, like even more so than like a hurricane. But tornadoes are brutal. Sometimes I wonder, I'm like, why are y'all living in these areas? Because like in New York, in the New Jersey, New York area, for the most part, we don't really have to worry too much about natural disasters. Every once in a blue moon, we'll get a hurricane up here, but even then, it's not even really that bad of a hurricane. We don't get tornadoes. It's very rare for us to even get an earthquake. Like, we're very lucky in that aspect that we don't get natural disasters on that level. So it's like you really don't necessarily understand the devastation of a tornado. Like, yeah, you'll see it on the news every so often, but this movie, like, I really got to see like the devastation of a tornado, especially with, you know, it being multiple tornadoes, which is now starting to become more happenstance with climate change. But also with that, talking about the heart and the charm of this movie, Glenn Powell as Tyler Owens, he definitely brought the charm. Like I said, I've seen Tyler Owens in other, or not Tyler Owens, that's the character he plays, but I've seen Glenn Powell in other movies, but I never really pay him that much attention. But this movie, the charm that he brought and the charisma and the character that he played of Tyler Owens, I was just like, wait a minute, Glenn Powell is doing something to me right now. Like, I don't know, I'm feeling so, shout out to that white man right there. Like, he's doing something to me in this movie. I was like, I want to ride the cowboy, like, like, his character was fun. His character was funny. He was charming. He was interesting. He was heartwarming. He was nurturing. And he was also a little bit of a narcissist. A little bit, but in a good, not, well, let me not say narcissist, because when you think of narcissists are bad people. But I just liked his character. And I can see why, and the chemistry that he ends up having with the character of Daisy. I was just like, yeah, I would feel that way too. But I will say, for me though, I was looking at this movie, I'm just like, damn, how much more invested would I be if it was literally the same movie, but at the center and at the heart of it was a queer subplot, like two guys. Again, the same movie, same storyline, but it was, instead of it being a woman and a man, it was two men or two women. Because at the same time, like, we don't get stories like that. A lot of times, if it's a gay story, it's a gay story. It's coming out, or a gay circus. You don't, like, I would like to see a disaster movie like this with, you know, queer leads at the center of it. So it's not literally a gay story, but just in the fact that there are queer leads, it makes it a gay story. Like, I want, you know, gay fantasy, sci-fi movies like this. That's what I was thinking the whole time while watching the movie. I was just like, I'm really loving this movie, but damn, why can't we get like gay movies like this with gay black people on top of that, disaster movies? And I was just like, damn, I was just like, imagine how, and Grant, I was invested in this movie. I was like, I would absolutely love this movie even more. If it was literally the same movie, but at a, you know, cause I keep saying before, I'm tired of straight stories, even though I really like this movie, but like, I'm tired of straight stories. I want to see gay stories. Like, I want to see us in these types of circumstances because we don't get to see it. But overall, like I said, I really had a lot of fun in this movie. And David Cornsweet, Superman, is in this movie, but his character didn't really do much. He was just a generic asshole. There wasn't really much else to his character. So, but as he was talking, I was like, wait a minute, is that Superman? That's David Cornsweet. Oh, okay, didn't notice. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed this movie. Like I said, I want to see it again in 4DX. So I definitely recommend. Granted, it's super expensive. If you have a 4DX theater in your area and you can afford it, I would recommend seeing the movie in 4DX. I feel like you would have a great time and probably even better time watching the movie. But you don't have to see it in 4DX. It's just as immersive in regular. Definitely see it in IMAX though, in regular theaters. But yeah, I really enjoyed Twisters, and I would totally recommend you go see it. But with that said, if you've seen Twisters, let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section below. If this is one of your first time checking out one of my videos, check out the other videos on my channel. If you like what you see, hit that subscribe button and tell your friends, families, and neighbors about my channel to help me continue to grow. And as always, I will catch you guys next time.